What if I told you, you are just the latest episode in a 4 billion-year-long series of bad decisions made by single-celled soap bubbles with identity issues? Yeah, sorry to break it to you like that, but your body, with all its pride, problems, opinions, and cravings for garlic bread at 2 a.m., is just a walking consequence of one tiny cell who said, "What if I didn't divide normally?" But before we explore how one cell's existential crisis led to love, war, politics, and TikTok, smash that like button like a cell undergoing mitosis and subscribe like your DNA depends on it. Because technically, it kinda does. The beginning, just a blob. Let's rewind the universe clock to about 3.8 billion years ago. Earth was a mess, volcanic, toxic, covered in methane and drama. There was no Wi-Fi, no Netflix, just bubbling sludge and lightning. But in that swampy chaos, life didn't begin with a bang. It began with a blorp. Somewhere in a shallow primordial soup, probably smelling worse than your gym bag, lipids decided to clump together. Why? Who knows? Maybe even molecules were lonely. These blobs, protocells, weren't alive yet, but they were trying. And in biology, trying is often enough to get weird. Then came RNA, the reckless cousin of DNA. RNA could store information and make stuff happen. It was like giving a monkey a chainsaw in a cookbook. Yo, what if I copy myself? But like kinda sloppily? RNA, probably. Spoiler alert, it did. And one of those sloppy copies managed to wiggle inside a protocell blob. That moment, that was life. Congratulations, you're related to that squishy little narcissist. The first bad decision, self-replication. Now, you'd think being the first life form would come with some chill, but no. The cell looked around and thought, this planet sucks, I'm gonna clone myself. That decision kick-started evolution. Also, overcrowding, competition, murder, and eventually TikTok dances. Cloning worked too well. The ocean started filling with identical cells. It was like living in a mall full of your own exes. So eventually, one rebel cell thought, what if I did things differently? Boom, mutation. It was a mistake, but a productive one. From there, evolution became a game of roulette, played with gene dice and radioactive cocktails. Things escalate quickly. Let's fast forward a few million years. Cells are now doing photosynthesis. What if I eat sunlight? Predation. What if I eat you instead? Sex. What if we merge genomes for fun? Yes, that last one was another bad decision with long-term consequences. Especially for creatures with high-maintenance mating rituals, like humans, birds of paradise, and every character on dating apps. Some cells started cooperating, some started specializing. Suddenly, you've got multicellular life. From simple sponges to trilobites, evolution was now doing jazz improv. But every leap forward came with chaotic side effects. Nervous systems? Now we feel anxiety. Limbs? Now we trip over furniture. Consciousness? Now we regret things at 3 a.m. The Cambrian explosion, chaos unleashed around 540 million years ago, evolution got drunk and decided to throw a party. This was the Cambrian explosion, a time when life forms got weird fast. Giant shrimp with saw blades for faces, worms with armor, jellyfish trying to pass as umbrellas. No one really knows why it happened, but it was like nature suddenly got an art degree and a Red Bull. Your ancestors were in that mix. Awkward fish things squiggling around, growing nerves, maybe inventing regret. Land ho, baby! Eventually, some brave little fish wiggled onto land. Not because it was a good idea, but because the water was getting crowded and some genius said, what if I breathe the sky? Congratulations again. You're related to that amphibious idiot too. This was the start of limbs, lungs, and unfortunately, knees. Seriously, knees are evolutionary nightmares. Ask any adult over 30. Mammals. from nervous rat to tax accountant. Time passed. Dinosaurs ruled the Earth. Then they got a surprise asteroid. Boom, mammals got their big break. Tiny, shivering rat creatures crawled out from underfoot and thought, what if I stay up at night, overthink everything, and grow a brain the size of a mango? Brains got bigger. Social structures formed. One branch of primates started gossiping and throwing rocks. Yes, humans. We'll explore how Homo sapiens, the anxious ape with fire and sarcasm, took all these bad cellular decisions and said, hold my beer, let's invent civilization. And also, why brains are lazy drama queens, how agriculture ruined our backs. And the moment we decided money was a good idea, leave a comment with your favorite cellular mistake. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and remember, it all started with a single cell and some truly awful decisions. Homo sapiens, when cells got too smart for their own good. So let's pick up where we left off. Our squishy, nervous ancestors, like freshly evolved mammals, had managed to survive meteor strikes, ice ages, and embarrassing body hair. And now they were experimenting with walking on two legs, talking too much, and developing what we now call crippling existential awareness. One species in particular, Homo sapiens, began asking dangerous questions like, what is the meaning of life? Can I eat that? What if I drew a bison, but, emotionally? Thus began art, religion, and eventually philosophy professors. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First came the next bad decision, agriculture. Around 10,000 years ago, someone had the brilliant idea to stop hunting and gathering and just plant things. Why chase food when we can grow it in the dirt and wait for months? Ancient early adopter of boredom. And thus began agriculture, the great backbreaking mistake that let us build cities and also gave us gluten intolerance. Sure, farming allowed populations to grow, but it also brought class divisions, tooth decay, malnutrition, the invention of fences, and worst of all, grain storage, which led to rats, which led to cats, which led to the internet. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Civilization, an anxious group project. As humans settled into larger groups, they started inventing wild things like writing for keeping track of who owed goats, government for arguing about goat-based decisions, laws, mostly don't steal goats, taxes, also goat-related. This all seemed like progress, but remember, this is still just the butterfly effect of one cell deciding to copy itself slightly incorrectly. That little mistake gave rise to bureaucracy, religion, politics, and family dinners. As brains evolved, so did questions like, where did we come from? What happens when we die? Is that guy really in charge, or is he just louder than everyone else? Boom! Religion and politics were born, often in the same building. With complex brains came complex beliefs, traditions, and ceremonies. Also, tribalism. Nothing like a couple thousand years of war over whose invisible sky dad is better. Some people found peace. Others found excuses to invent. Swords, chariots, bureaucratic empires, passive-aggressive stone tablets. Technology. Building things to break other things. One thing our anxious little primate minds are good at? Tools. It started with rocks. Then came fire, the wheel, and eventually medieval dentists, a true low point in applied science. But things picked up. The compass gunpowder eyeglasses, so we could see how bad things really looked. Then the printing press. Now people could mass-produce arguments. Then steam, electricity, sliced bread. Each invention solved a problem, while accidentally creating 3 new ones. For example, electricity gave us light and Twitter. Airplanes gave us travel and tiny bags of pretzels. The internet gave us information and people who believe the earth is flat. Genes, the OG code base. Remember that original cell? Its main goal was to pass on genes, that's it. That's what all this has been about. Survival was never personal. It was just your DNA trying to make it to the next round like it's on Evolutionary The Voice. Even love at its core is just biochemistry yelling, "Hey, that one might make good copies. Go awkwardly approach them." And if you're wondering why your family is so weird, blame mitosis. Your great-great-great-great-grandparent was a copy of a copy of a copy with some minor glitches. And those glitches? They're called personality. Science. When monkeys get curious. Eventually, some humans looked around and thought, why is the sky blue? What's inside frogs? What if I licked this rock? Thus was born science, the process of poking things until they explain themselves. And science did great things. It gave us germ theory, space travel, microwaves, banana slicers. But it also gave us knowledge we weren't ready for, like quantum physics and the fact that spiders can sometimes fly. Modern times, cellular chaos. Now here we are, billions of years since that first replicating blob, and now our cells have phones. We built computers of essentially extremely obedient rocks that can do math faster than the entire Roman Empire ever could. Then we gave them cat videos. We built rockets to Mars and streaming services we argue over. We even started editing our own DNA, which is basically going back into your code and yelling, "Who wrote this garbage?" But here's the wild part. Your body still runs on the same ancient rules written by that first cell. Every heartbeat, every breath, every craving for salty snacks. It's all an echo of biology's greatest experiment. To be concluded, we'll look at the future of cellular chaos. How we're hacking our biology, why your mitochondria are technically not human, and how every bad decision ever made led to memes. Plus, the secret reason why your cells are constantly trying to delete you for spare parts. If you're enjoying this spiraling descent into biochemical madness, leave a comment or donate a mitochondria to the algorithm. Like, subscribe, and remember, you are not a person. You are a community of confused cells, held together by protein and poor judgment. The future. Cells with Wi-Fi and identity issues. We've reached a strange chapter in our evolutionary saga. Cells once just blobby survivalists, now pay taxes, have social media anxiety, argue about whether AI is art order smoothies with collagen, which is just cannibalism but fancy. Let's pause and appreciate how ridiculous this is. Inside you are 37 trillion cells, each one buzzing, twitching, duplicating, and occasionally panicking. Some are liver cells, some are brain cells, some are white blood cells fighting infections you didn't even know you had this morning. But here's the kicker. Most of you isn't even human. You. A microbial hitchhiking festival. Roughly 50% of the cells in your body are not you. They're bacteria, viruses, fungi, tiny freeloaders with opinions about your lunch. Your gut? A bustling metropolis of microbes making serotonin and judging your third coffee. Your skin? A living zoo of microbiota quietly preventing infections. Unless you mess with them. And mitochondria? Those little power factories inside every cell? Yeah, they're technically ancient bacteria you adopted billions of years ago. So every time you hit the gym or finish a task, thanks, mitochondria, you weird little energy-producing immigrants. CRISPR and the gene-hacking revolution. Now we've reached the point where humans, formerly confused apes with sharp rocks, can now edit our DNA. Using CRISPR, we can cure diseases, engineer better crops, give glow-in-the-dark properties to questionable animals, and yes, make designer babies, which raises designer ethical problems. It's like opening your body's source code in Notepad and saying, let's just delete this cholesterol problem and maybe add abs? Sounds promising until someone accidentally gives a goat a degree in economics. Science is amazing, but evolution is still whispering behind it all. I didn't plan this. You're just winging it with prettier tools. AI, consciousness, and other bad ideas. And now, Our cells aboard of meat space have made thinking machines. AI that can paint, write music, code, diagnose cancer, and recommend you 37 videos about raccoons if you watch one wildlife clip. We've externalized intelligence. Soon we may not remember how to spell photosynthesis because our phones will spell it for us while tracking our heart rate. Some believe AI is the next leap in evolution. Others believe it's just evolution outsourcing the thinking to something with better uptime. Either way, it's one more bad decision with potential. The dark side. Cells gone. Rogue. Let's not romanticize biology too much. Cells make mistakes, constantly. Cancer? That's just one cell saying, you know what? I'm the main character now. Everyone else is background noise. Autoimmune disease? Your immune system flipping out and attacking perfectly innocent parts of you like an overzealous mall cop. Alzheimer's? A brain forgetting itself, cell by cell, like a novel with the last chapters torn out. The same messy biology that created Beethoven, Beyoncé, and banana pudding also created bad knees and seasonal allergies. Thanks, evolution. So, what now? We've gone from swamp bubbles to space probes, from protocells to philosophy, from mitosis to midlife crisis. And yet the big questions still linger. Why are we here? Where are we going? And seriously, why do we still have appendixes? Science may not have all the answers, but it does have evidence, experiments, and the courage to say, we don't know yet, but let's find out. Even if that means one more bad decision at the cellular level. The takeaway, aka awkward final metaphor. You watching this video while lying sideways on the couch like a confused shrimp, are a miracle. Not a perfect one. Not even a particularly efficient one. But a miracle of accidents, mutations, and choices made by entities that didn't even know what a choice was. You are. A symphony of cells, a committee of chemicals, a drama starring 37 trillion cast members, 90% of whom never went to acting school. And yet, you're here, thinking, feeling, laughing, crying, maybe wondering if it's too late to eat another slice of pizza. It all started with a single cell, and then a cascade of weird, brilliant, often terrible decisions. 37 trillion thank yous. If you've made it this far, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe hug your mitochondria. They work hard. Next time on It All Started With fire and forgetting how to cook without it. Until then, stay curious, stay weird, and don't forget, if your body starts twitching, it's probably just the bacteria throwing a house party. Peace out, intelligent colonies.